I'm Wendy Brodie, chef with Art of Food for YourTown. Anyway, this is exciting for me. I have a wonderful female chef, Ann Ginger, joining me today. Ann, welcome, and gosh, we've known each other, what, 3 or 4 years now?
6 years now.
I can't believe it.
Yes.
Life is going too quickly.
It moves fast. Wendy, thank you so much for having me here today. It's a pleasure to be here.
You're welcome. What's so unique about you, because being a female chef myself over the years, people have asked me, what was your inspiration and what led you to it? Because they still think of men as a predominant chef, so females are still a curiosity. So what inspired you, and how did you develop an interest that led you to your current position?
I think my mother inspired me the most. I grew up in a family that was mostly girls, and we all kind of took over the cooking duties at some point as we were growing up. And I think I embraced it more than my older siblings. And I was able to, as the family grew up and some of them left the house and it became me and just my parents, I got more of a chance to experiment and play.
So you were the youngest.
I was the youngest, yes. So it wasn't a matter of just get food on the table for a large family. For me and my parents, I could experiment and try new things and watch Jacques Pepin on PBS and say, I want to try that. And my parents were very gracious in letting me do that. But my mother was very happy to turn the reins of cooking over to me. So that's kind of really where it started. She was a good cook, not a chef per se, but a good cook. I mean, most of the time she was getting food on the table for kids. So it developed there, and I took classes when I was in high school, and that just kind of carried through with
Were they home ec classes? What did they call them back then?
They were home ec classes, and I took a number of them that were actually independent study, so I could kind of choose my own focus.
Oh, that's fabulous.
My home ec teacher was amazing. I took sewing classes with her as well. So she gave me some nice leeway.
That mirrors my experience, only
right.
The sewing teacher was not so great. And,
oh, no. Oh, no.
And the boys sort of sabotaged our food groups in home ec. So.
I think the guys, the boys seem to want to have a little bit more fun than actually accomplish things in home ec.
Yes, this was like, not too... Nowadays, the young kids, and I've taught young boys who are really serious about this, and they're watching all the new TV shows and kids contests.
They've got a lot of it, yes, the contests, a lot of role models, and a lot of people to watch on TV to say, that's a possibility, I can do that, look how cool that is. It's not a girls thing anymore, it's a cool thing to do. So it's really kind of changed the perspective, I think, of boys taking home ec classes.
Yes.
They changed.
Well, one of the other things that mirrors my life as well is we each work with our husbands.
Very true.
Your wonderful husband, John Perkins. I love to see the way the two of you interact and how you support each other and all of that. But that is very unique and it's very hard. And I'd love to hear what your secret is as to how you make that work.
I think communication is the biggest one. And the fact that at the end of the day, we work together, but we have a working relationship and we have a marriage relationship. And sometimes, you know, they kind of overlap, but sometimes you have to keep them separate. If things take place at work, you can't necessarily take them home with you. You have to go home and be friends and be a couple and be partners and leave work at work. And that's the biggest thing, is just being courteous to the other person, because they're the person you work with. You happen to be married to them, but they are your coworker. And so it's worked really well for us. We're both not the kind that get really upset with each other easily and get upset with things at work. We both remain pretty calm, and that maintains a nice balance for us. But communicating is the biggest thing.
And usually with that type of work, you're living on property as
We
well. And
It's true.
so
It's true. Yeah, so it's pretty close. When we leave work, we're not going very far. We are living on property. So we spend a lot of time together. And I know many couples would be like, oh, I could never do that. That's if I had to see my husband that many hours a day when at work.
I'm with you. When you're with the right person, it can be just the best support system.
It can be, yes,
But
very much so.
not that you aren't into wines as well, but it seems like he also has such a culinary support interest in the beverage area. And
In service, the hands-on service front of house is really his forte. And that balances me very well, whereas I'd rather stay a little bit more behind the scenes. So we can kind of, in a sense, make each other look good. I put my food out there. He can present it in a way, but my food can also show off his style of service. So it goes together really well. It just works really well that way.
When you are creating a menu and you're beginning to work in the private experience,
Yes.
do you have freedom to do all your own creations, or do you get requests of you? And
It's mixed. There's a lot of time that I have a lot of freedom, where it can be strictly my choice on what I'm going to do. It depends on the event. Might depend on the guest who's coming. There might be a specific request or specific dietary needs. So it is actually kind of mixed. I try and focus in on the season, what's going on, food-wise, what's coming into the markets. But my employer may say, I really want to serve fish tonight, or I really want salmon, or I really want chicken. And then I can build from there. The request may be specific and only just the protein, and then I'm allowed to kind of fill in around that and play a little bit around that. But sometimes it's wide open, and I get to kind of choose the whole thing. So it just depends on the mood. Just depends.
besides the personal chef, you also have the description of manager.
Yes.
And a lot of times with the personal chef experience, it's more than just cooking for a couple. Events are put on, unique experiences are put on, the more creative the employer is. What have been some of your challenges or exciting, like, I don't know, birthdays or unique holiday experiences?
I will cite one event, was where all the food, we were trying to make it all one color, pink.
Could that be valid?
So that presented a challenge to try and have multiple courses and having them be as pink as possible. Certain foods, pasta. Can we have pink pasta? Okay, let's see what we can do to make pink pasta. So that was a good challenge. It was a good experiment for me to see how much pink food I could create
Oh, that's
through a
great.
whole meal.
Any ingredients that you've had to source or find that you've just was an interesting experience to?
That's a really good question. I'm thinking about what I've had to do.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that it depends on the menu. A lot of what we do is not super exotic. And the couple that I work for, they like good food. They have a very sophisticated palate, but they sometimes just want some simple, good food, not exotic. They're sitting down each night. They don't want super exotic things. They want to have comfort food, much like a lot of us do when we sit down for dinner. We want to have simple, more comfort food.
Right,
So.
right. Well, I know with other chefs, and Mark was reminding me about the Amazon Prime. If things aren't at a grocery store, or we don't have a produce person in our back pocket,
Right,
and the farmer's market isn't that day, and surprise, surprise, you're looking for something unique.
Yes.
Is that a source you avail yourself of?
I have used it. I have used it for certain things, specialty spices or salts or vinegars. It has been a great resource for things like that. I haven't used it so much for fresh product, but I have used it for more pantry items that aren't readily available in most grocery stores. So it's nice to have that resource right there.
Yes.
Knowing it will come right to my door, and I don't have to go to multiple stores to track it down.
So besides all your wonderful culinary skills and management skills,
Thank you.
and I know from time to time you've needed to write some things out as a good form of communication, like newsletters or information.
Yes.
So you have many talents, and some
try to
that
think so.
from early on, like the cooking classes and the sewing lessons, every time I see you that isn't in the kitchen, you're wearing something that you've knitted, crocheted, made, and I'm just overwhelmed at your wide range of talents. Your
Thank
art
you.
goes many places,
Thank you.
and I'm admiring one of my favorite color grays, and your, I mean, that is a very, very unique and beautiful scarf.
Thank you. Thank you. I learned to knit. My mom taught me, again, she taught me a lot of wonderful things, but she did teach me to knit and crochet when I think I was about 7. And I think it was a way for me to self-entertain myself. Here, I taught you this, now go off in the corner, I'm tired. I'm entertaining you. And I really embraced it. I embraced crocheting more so. Not so much knitting in the beginning, but then I picked it up again in my 20s and took off with it from there. So it's something I do just about every day. It's a rare day that goes by that I don't knit.
But isn't there a group that you get together with? There are things beyond, it's not just a talent you do on your own. There's a whole community that shares like us chefs do.
There really is. The knitting community is really strong. So locally there's a great a group of knitters that meet at different times. There's also a website, Ravelry.com, which is, it's kind of Facebook for knitters, but done better. It's a big social networking site that's really well done with a huge international community where people can get together and find out what's going on. The local yarn store here in Pacific Grove, Monarch Knitting, is just fantastic. Ann Patterson bought it a couple years ago, and she has just built a tremendous store with a great community, offering all sorts of wonderful resources. And it's just, that's been a off-hours treat for me to go over there and visit with friends and hang out and pet the beautiful yarns that she has in stock. So it's a nice balance to cooking. It kind of has its own similarities.
Well, you have your hands into things too, which is, so it's a very tactile experience, as is cooking.
Right, and you're kind of thinking as you go, well, what am I going to do next? How is this going to work out? What changes do I need to make? It's not going in the direction I thought. It's not tasting the way I thought I'd want it. What can I add or what can I change to make it be what I want it to be? So it does have a lot of similarities, which is great.
Now, I'm wondering, this is just one of these crazy things that pops up into chef's head, and I'm sure it's crossed yours. I mean, since yarn is long and narrow, and noodles are long and narrow, and the spiral cut where you have long, narrow have you ever kind of cross-contaminated food with knitting ideas? And
I haven't, but there is online. I've seen it. There's a photo of someone who has knit with spaghetti, cooked. I'm not wrong. And actually has knit with it. And I think has done some artwork with it or something.
Oh my goodness.
With it. Has knitted pieces. So it has happened. I haven't done it myself. I try to abstain from eating Cheetos while I'm knitting.
Well, I've seen that this wasn't too original, but like the pie crust weaving,
Yeah.
I've seen some wide mouth noodles kind of done that way. And one time for a lasagna that I didn't put tomato sauce and cheese on top of, I had different colored lasagnas woven on top.
Awesome. That's
And,
fantastic.
Yeah, I forgot all about that. Not to turn it on me. But,
No, but what a great idea.
but it just seems like the double art form could have some fun potential.
Absolutely. I think food is an art form in many ways.
yes.
Yeah, can kind of go across the borders of just being something someone's going to eat. It can do all sorts of things.
Now, in your repertoire, are there things that you like to cook more than other? I mean, like desserts or meats, or do you like it all, or how?
I enjoy almost everything. I think fish and vegetables are my favorite. Lots of people always ask me that oh, what's your favorite food to prepare? And this is always a
Sorry, I
no,
didn't mean
oh
to.
no, it's a great question. I think it's a question that most chefs get asked. And for me and all the things that I've done, working for private families for so many years, I love to cook food that they're happy to eat, that puts a smile on their face, and at the end of the meal, they are so happy. I'm in their home, I'm taking care of them privately. I'm not feeding 80 tables. I'm feeding just this small group, this small family, and it's really important that what I put out is what they want to eat. If the meatloaf I typically make is not the meatloaf they remember or the meatloaf they like, I need to change it, because I'm only feeding them. They're not coming to me for my food. I'm going to them for what do they really like to eat. So that's my goal, and that's what makes me happy, is when they are done with their meal and they say, wow, I love that. That was fabulous. Make that again as soon as possible.
Well, you know, in similar experiences, I find that if I get input from people, I actually learn more than just doing my own.
It's true. I mean, because you get that feedback. What someone else is tasting besides you. It's really important. I think it's something that you really have to listen to when people give you the feedback.
Well, I think you are so lovely, and I'm always so thrilled to be in your company. And thank you so much, Anne. It's a pleasure having you, and I can't wait to hear more about how food and art gets combined again.
Excellent. Thank you, Wendy. A pleasure to be here.